Fantasy Six-Pack Hour with your hosts, Joe Bond and AJ Appleton.
All right. Welcome to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me today, my co-host DapScout. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, what's going on? I am so happy to be back. You didn't let me come in last week. You said, hey, you smell like Twizzlers. And I was like,
Hey, I like Twizzlers, man. I don't know.
Oh, well.
I don't know what you're talking about.
My
wife does not like Twizzlers, which is really funny that you say that because she put a new air freshener in the car and I got in it and it was like, kind of smells like strawberry Twizzlers in here. She's like, don't ever say that again because she hates Twizzlers. And I was like, well, now I'm definitely saying it again.
That's weird because your wife told me that your landscaper always likes to eat Twizzlers. So that's crazy to me that you have a landscaper.
And we're back.
Oh, man, I'm so sorry. How did that just came out of nowhere? I don't even know what. I'm so sorry.
Oh, my gosh. And I see Mike unmuted himself to try to crack a joke. What you got, Mike?
I was just going to say, I love the callback already.
Yeah.
I'm here.
All right. Well, we got a great show. We're talking about Paul Skenes and I don't know. Does anything else matter? No. Just kidding. We're talking about some other prospects, some other news that you guys will want to know about, and some injuries as well. Of course, while you're here, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave those comments. We appreciate it. And we love hearing from you. And jump over to fantasysixpack.net/plans. Become an all-access member of Fantasy Six-Pack. You get access to our award-winning rankings, all of our DFS advice over there from Dave Eddy and Chris Robin. This is just for baseball, by the way. So you get all the sports as well. So if you play football and everything else, you get it all. Then you get to jump into our Discord and get access to our members-only channels where you get to talk to all of us and ask your custom league questions. We go, we give pretty deep analysis for all that stuff. We'll actually ask questions back and try to figure out exactly what the scenario is in your team before we answer, because that stuff matters. So we make sure we get into all that. But so we've already got a Paul Skenes question over here. We'll get to that in just a second. Rick Ross, give us 1 minute, man. Let's get through the beginning of this. I do want to bring on our guest, Joe Arrico of Fantasy Pros. He's also in Tout Wars. You do a lot over there, Fantasy Pros. I could read it, but man, it's a lot. So what's going on, man? Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's actually the first time I've been introduced as a member of Fantasy Pros. It's a really exciting time, and I really appreciate you guys picking my brain tonight. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. That asked if you could come on the show, and I was like, no, never that guy. He's like, do you know who he is? I was like, yes, I know who he is. He's on my Twitter every morning. Lots of it. It is fantastic. No, it's fantastic.
If you don't follow Joe, I mean, I know you've moved to the Patreon platform, but if you don't follow Joe, he gets this daily wrap up that I'm absolutely addicted to. And I'm so glad that you came on after just a little bit of prodding, a little bit of bribing, and thanks for joining us because I've been loving your tweets, man. It's been awesome.
I really appreciate all the support. Yeah, the Patreon's kind of cool. I'm still just exploring all the possibilities. It's a fantastic platform. It really allows you to create what you want. You can do all kinds of things. Like, there's really nothing I would change about it. It's been fantastic over the first week. So yeah, come check it out. It's at the link in my bio. Lots of fun stuff going on. I'm going to have a new podcast launching next week. So it's an exciting time for me right now, for sure.
Oh man. Yeah, no, definitely check that out. So, all right, you guys ready to talk some baseball? Let's get into it. Of course, the hot news of the week, the last couple of days, is Mr. Paul Skenes.
Who?
Getting the call up here. So let me change the route.
You mean here. Livy Dunn's boyfriend? Is that who you're talking about? I'm just kidding.
I don't know. What do you? Oh wait, that's not Paul Skenes. I'm sorry. This is supposed to be
that's Paul Skenes right there on the right.
Kids. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's Paul Skenes. There we go.
Yeah, that's Paul Skenes.
He's up here somewhere. He's in this thing somewhere. There he is. There he is.
Go.
That guy.
Oh, there.
No.
Oh, yeah. No.
So no, Mr. Paul Skenes coming up here. Our good friend Mike Carlin's tweet here showing some highlights of Paul Skenes. This dude is fire. The overall number 1 pick just last year. I mean, Joe, what do we think he's gonna do? He's starting this Saturday. Realistic expectations for this guy.
I'd like to say that he could be a top 20 SP pretty easily, but in this current landscape, I honestly have no idea. And I want to say like absolutely Paul Skenes is just wheels up, ready to go. But then I think back to just last year with Grayson Rodriguez, who's maybe not the same, not quite the same level, but not far off in terms of pedigree and hype and talent and stuff and all that. And Grayson Rodriguez really, really struggled, had to go back down. So I think that Paul Skenes is going to be fine. He is, by most accounts, the most hyped prospect we've had on the pitching side since Strasburg, and there's a reason for it. The numbers are absurd: 43% strikeout rate this year. There's so much to like, but we shouldn't just expect it all. Just expect that he's now the best pitcher in baseball. And a lot of people are talking like he is. Maybe he will be, but we really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is with Mr. Dunn, Paul Skenes, sorry, I'm already thinking about his married name. He's probably going to take Olivia Dunn's last name. I think there's a couple pieces here that's really important, right? And the reason why we're bringing up Mike Curlin's tweet is because a lot of people were shied off initially. They're like, oh, he hasn't, what's his innings cap? And when Curlin, I think, brings up a really important point when you bring in his collegiate innings and some of his innings last year. 130, 150 is not out of the question. But I think on the other side there, Joe, I agree with everything you're saying. I think the landscape also tilts to us almost needing that, hype. Like, everybody's getting hurt. And I'm scared about just so much as somebody saying they have a blister, because then that blister becomes an amputation within about 10 minutes. And so I had to bid too much for Paul because of the fact I got decimated with injuries in the first month. And I think it's one of those things where I am hoping more than I would if it was normal and a normal situation. But I don't think I've ever been this messed up with IL on so many leagues. I mean, we're talking probably 75% of my leagues where I'm like, oh, please save me, Paul, type of situation. Yeah. He has amazing stuff. Definitely has one of the best stashes out there by far. That looks like, Yankees-esque, Pettit stash. I mean, just look at that. Let's not even worry about his stuff. The facial hair alone, knocks you up a couple ticks. But yeah, he's legit.
I think the one thing that I like about him, and the thing that I, can think will help him have success is that, you see a lot of these guys, especially these high strikeout pitchers in the minors, they have these ridiculous walk rates. He doesn't.
Yes,
so
yes.
That's really nice to see from a guy like Paul Skenes. He's probably gonna have some bumps in the road, but I mean, it was funny. I saw a tweet the other day where I guess he gave up his first homer or something like that. Yeah, we put that one up there, Mike. He allowed his first home run and his ERA ballooned up to 0.99. It was it's kind of funny. But yeah, so we do have a question about Paul here. So from Rick Ross here, we've got he currently has Paul Skenes. Would it be crazy to move him and Senga for Pablo Lopez? No,
I don't think it's crazy.
I don't even know if the other manager would accept that, to be honest with you. I wouldn't. Dynasty League, maybe not. But I mean, Lopez is still pretty young too, but I don't know if I'm giving up Skenes in a dynasty for that. But if this is just redraft, I'd probably pull the trigger on that. Lopez is legit.
Yeah, Lopez is a top 7 or 8 pitcher, I think, at worst. Skenes. Yeah. Another thing with the Pirates is he threw a lot of innings last year, but the Pirates are not a team that we can just expect them to let him just go free now. They might send him back down. They might have 4-inning outings. We can't expect now that he's just going to throw 6 innings every time out. Yeah. Senga's coming off the injury. I think Lopez is the safe play there.
I agree. And he crushed it today.
Yeah, quality start league. I mean, that's a different. That's why we always have to ask. How's your league set up? How many teams and all that stuff. But yeah, I completely agree. Lopez is a safe play there all day.
So, gotta ask this next question about Paul Skenes. So, of course, if he was not drafted in NFBC style format leagues, he is now going to be eligible this coming Sunday for waivers, which is Fab. How much percentage of Fab are you dumping on Paul Skenes? Dap, you look like you're ready to answer first.
Yeah. So I've been holding. I didn't bid as hard for Christian Scott, who I know we're talking about here in a minute, because I was betting that Skenes was going to come up the next couple of weeks. I'm going to go heavy. I'm probably going to go easy 30-40% because, like in almost all my NFBCs, like I'm getting hammered and pitching. Like
I wonder if you're even gonna get him for that. I don't know.
I don't.
So much hype.
It's one of those situations where I'm gonna do my. It's one of those where like I'm gonna go, and if I lose out, then it was never meant to be. I don't think I'm gonna feel bad about it if I go that high. You know what I mean? Like at certain point, just whatever. But I'm gonna try there. And if we're if another Joe, like the guy below me, outbids me on some stuff, then I know where he lives.
I actually don't have him available in any league, so this is me saying what I would bid without actually having to do it. But I think he's like at least solid 35%. Like I bid close to 30. I bid like 30% on Christian Scott. That's like just to go back to JP's point about there's just no pitching left. There's literally nobody left. And a guy like Scott, a guy like Skenes, like if they can come, like the potential is there, and especially seeing with Jared Jones, I think a lot of us are kind of dreaming on potentially one more of those this year, and there's a good chance it's either Joe, Skenes or Scott. So I think it is worth like a good third of your fab.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hear you. Like, I've been looking at some of my leagues and I'm like, why are I can't, like my strikeout numbers are so ridiculously low. And I'm looking around, I'm like, oh, but they're low for everybody. Like, it's because all these like top dogs are out and like you can't get the high strikeout rates. And it's just maddening just watching it. I'm like, man, I like a below 9 per K per 9 rate in my leagues. It's just crazy every week. So I mean, I think he's easy 35-40%. Like, and if you want him, if you don't feel like paying that kind of money, then you're probably not getting him. But moving on here to the guy that we mentioned already, Mr. Christian Scott himself. So that's the wrong tweet. Did I not pull up the one I wanted? I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. So we're just going to minimize that because I don't know what I just did. It's one of these. I promise you. I think it is either that or I'm giving away the entire show. I think I just gave away the entire show. That's cool. I had a tweet. I don't know what happened to it. So we're just going to remove that. We're just going to do this. You need to put us back, Mike. There we go. All right. So Christian Scott came up, for the Mets and had a very good first outing against the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, of course, we know the Rays are not the Rays of last year. Offensively, they are struggling bad. So take that with a grain of salt. I think does he get Atlanta this weekend?
He gets Atlanta this weekend.
So are you just like automatically plugging him in against the Braves, or are you sort of going,
of course, because I like to live dangerously.
I don't know. Dap, so yeah, no, okay.
He's on our bench.
Yeah. I do like this comment from Chad here. I flipped Joe Ryan, Logan Hobby, and Harry Ford in the Dynasty League because I think the 4-inning outing will hurt his value and I could buy him in a cheaper later. He's talking about Paul Skenes. Yeah, maybe. He also likes both Joes, so there we go.
Appreciate you. I don't know if you're buying him back cheaper. I don't know how much cheaper you're going to buy him back for unless he gets blown up. If he comes up,
unless he starts out slow, but
maybe a Jackson Holliday type of situation. But I mean, even then, I don't know if people are getting massive discounts on Jackson Holliday. Maybe in some leagues, but I don't know if you're going to get him back for cheaper. That might be tricky. With Christian Scott, though, I bid a lot of money on him, and I won him in a lot of leagues. That's going to be a big investment for me for Fab this year. And it's like I said, I think that there's a chance that he could be that maybe not Jared Jones type, but numbers in the minors have been just exceptional. He comes up, he has a great start. Tampa's not what they were right now, but
yeah, that's true.
still impressive. Where I disagree with you, JP, is that I sat him in my weekly leagues against the Braves. I heard a lot of people saying you spend this much money on a guy, you got to start him in that week. But I mean, you still might get 23, 24 other starts. I don't know that I need to start him against the Braves. I maybe will in my daily league, depending on what's going on, because that's a head-to-head league. But in Roto, I did not have the balls to start him in Roto this week.
Oh no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't clear. I absolutely would not be starting him against the Braves. My apologies for coming off like that. I was trying to be sarcastic and I failed miserably with my joke timing. Sorry about that, Joe.
No, I thought you were saying, just go for it. And some people will.
Yeah, because if you're a psychopath, yeah, for sure.
But some people will spend a lot of fab money and even not a lot of fab money and just think like because you ponied up, you got to start him in that first week. It's not a crazy thought. I think it's actually a lot of people will have that mentality, even if it's like going into the Coors Field or Dodgers, Braves, whatever. So I don't think it's crazy.
Well, I just don't have those kind of. I just don't have that fortitude to pull that off and be able to hit submit and walk away from the screen.
No, I didn't either. I did not either.
But I mean, the post that we're showing you, right? Like, I really love the fact that he generated 18 whiffs. But like you said, right, the Rays aren't the Rays right now. There isn't a single bat there. That
to be fair, though, the Braves are not the Braves of last year. True. So they aren't untouchable like they were last year. Like last year, it was like death row to put your pitcher against the Braves, like almost no matter who it was. This year, not as much, but they're still scary. Like they can still blow up any given game.
Right.
Like far, they're still up there with like the Dodgers and all the best teams right now as far as offensive teams. So not somebody I want to throw out a guy in his second start who, faced a very lackluster Rays team. But he's good. I like him going forward. Next up, another guy who got called up here, Kyle Manzardo. Not been the greatest start for him. Did get his first hit. But this is from
in a game he didn't start. In a game he didn't start. He got the hit in the game he didn't start.
Got his hit. Yeah. But what's the thoughts with Manzardo, Joe? Going forward here, is he gonna stay up long term here? Is he gonna figure it out, or we just looking at like another guy who just everybody's sort of like, oh, early call up, he's gonna be good because as we're looking here on the screen, looking at Brendan Tuma Twitter feed, 8 home runs in his past 13 games in the minors. This was from I believe like May 4th. So he was mashing in the minors, and so everybody's got hyped up for him. But clearly had a rough first couple of games where he struck out quite a bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't read like too much into it. Like, first off, I want to say, like, I think that Cleveland absolutely stole him from Tampa. I think that this was a perfect real life buy low, sell high when Savali was really in a hot period of time. Manzardo, I know he had some struggle. I think his mom was going through an illness last year and he struggled, and it was a perfect buy low, sell high. We've seen Savali struggle, and Manzardo, I don't want to read really anything into what was it so far, like 8 at bats or 10 at bats. Like, I just don't want to. Granted, like there's been like 7 strikeouts in those 8 at bats, so it's not.
Yeah,
but I don't want
strikeout rate. It's not good to see.
I don't want to bury him yet because of it. I worry a little bit that there's not really a clear spot for him in that lineup. He's going to have to DH, and maybe he's like a strong side platoon, which you can live with, like most pitchers are right-handed. Even strong side platoon bats are still like comfortable weekly lineup guys. You can, you're getting 5 games a week or something. I don't love that he's at the bottom of the order, and the fact that he did sit already, and the fact that he struggled, but I'd give him a little bit more time. I still think that he's somebody that the potential is just through the roof. OBP leagues, especially, like this is a guy who could very easily give you in the future like 375 type OBP. I think he can be a close to 30 home run bat in the future. Like, that's more from a dynasty point of view. Like, from right now, 10, 12 team league guys, I don't know that he's like a priority pickup necessarily. I think in those 15 team NFBC leagues, like, absolutely. Maybe in 12s, like, he's worth it. But if you're playing in really shallow formats, I don't know that he's quite worth it just because he's at the bottom of the order. But he's somebody that I think could very easily return pretty good value. And he's only 25% rostered on Yahoo leagues right now. There's not a hell of a lot of interest. So even if he does pick it up, he's likely still going to be out there for a little while for you to have the, the week or so to actually see if he's able to adjust. And maybe it is a situation where he just needs to go back down. I don't think that there's like an immediate need to add him in shallow formats, but I'm not ready to give up on him either.
Yeah, I think smashed him up in my 12-team league, and after he struck out three times in the first game, I put him on the bench and watched him strike out 2 more times, and then he finally got his first hit. But he's gonna have a short leash for me. I mean, it's a 12-team league, so that's the one that I picked him up in.
Yeah, if you have a league that you have a corner outfielder, infielder, I think this is definitely somebody you should be eyeballing. But I agree with you 100%, Joe. Joe O, not Joe B, but yeah, no, I'm kidding. But I think the thing is that a couple things with Kyle, right? That I'm willing to kind of wait a little bit longer. The exit velocity, all the underlying numbers. I mean, the ball just flies off his bat, and he's shown time and time again he's just an advanced hitter. And Cleveland is willing to be patient with him. It's not like a Tampa Bay. Now, if he was at Tampa Bay, I would absolutely have given up. On a non-dynasty team, because there's 1,000 other Kyle Manzardos ready to take his place, or they're going to move a pitcher to first base or something crazy in Tampa. But it's Cleveland. There's going to be a longer leash. They're wanting him to develop. They want him to be the first baseman of the future. So I believe the organization's bought into him, and I'm willing to, just believe that there's a lot more there. If he has to go down, I still wouldn't have given up on him to the extent of, in Dynasty or something like that, trying to sell low. But you're absolutely right, Joe, about the personal problems that he had last year, I think really affected him as well. And I think the change of scenery, obviously his mom getting better as well, just all kind of is kind of pulled together. And I just want to see this guy succeed because he is so much fun to watch. And the various kind of places that the jokes that the Mandalorian and all those kind of things that can kind of go with this name. I just want somebody fun like that to really take off.
Yeah, so let's play a little game of pass or stash. Dap, I'll give you credit for that one here. These are some guys who, I mean, a couple of them have been caught up in the past, but are now not up in the majors. But we will start with Mr. Junior Caminero. Would you pass or stash him, Joe? Let's go with like kind of your standard 10, 12, maybe 14 team leagues.
So if you have a spot, I know that there's a lot of leagues on Yahoo and certain places that allow a minor league spot. If you have one of those, then absolutely. Yeah. If you're just burning an active roster spot for him, it might be worth it. But I also don't have any real certainty when he's going to come up. Like I'm stashing him in Tout Wars. It's a 15-team mixed league. So I have a little bit of wiggle room there. Like there's not really a lot on the waiver wire I'd be even dropping him for. But in those shallow formats, I feel like maybe it's just this year I'm a little bit of a pessimist with prospects, but they're not really panning out. We're waiting. We're spending a lot of money in fab, and then we're getting not a lot of return for it. And that's not to say that we won't get a couple of guys that do pan out. But I don't know that it's worth it to be burning an active roster spot. Let's say you're in a 10-team league. I know a lot of people are going to buy in on the hype, and they should in the long run. Like he's incredibly talented, but maybe he comes up. Tampa is known to play games. Maybe he plays half the time. Maybe he's batting ninth. Like there's just so many questions with those prospects that if you have a specific minor league spot and it's not hurting you on a day-to-day basis, for sure. But to actually kill a roster spot for any of these guys we're going to talk about, I'm not sure I'm really on board with that right now.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. The only thing I would say about Caminero that I kind of like is the fact that he did get a little taste of last year, right, up in the majors. And so knowing that when he finally gets the call back again, like knowing that he's got even just 7 games experience plus, whatever he got in the playoffs a little bit, right? Like that's only going to help him, right? And he struggled last year. For the most part, only batted .235, struck out, but strikeout rate was only 22%. So it's not like he just felt overwhelmed. It just wasn't landing. Like, it was a little overmatched, but he went right. He started the season. He's been just red hot, batting over 300, 6 home runs already. So You gotta like the fact that he's already got that little bit of experience to kind of help him just kick off right away when he does get the call up again. But it's Tampa, as we know, Dap, right? We have no idea.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's going for us, for who I'm the camp I'm going into here, the stash camp, right? I mean, I think yes, if you have a minor league spot, if you don't have Caminero already in your minor league spot, then you're crazy. I'm willing, if I have, let's say, 8 bench spots or more, I'm willing to put in Caminero, assuming you have IL spots as well, because everybody has somebody injured. If you don't have IL spots, then you need to leave that league right now. That's crazy talk. But I'm willing to have it just because Tampa Bay is doing so awful that I have a feeling, like, this is just gut, that Caminero has to be called up at some point as a spark plug. And yes, you're right. I don't trust once they call him up, he'll probably become a pitcher, or they might, they might do something stupid.
He'll be the opener.
Right. Or he like they'll use him as a pinch runner or something stupid. But I mean, honestly, if he's doing Caminero things, right? 21%, 22% strikeout rate's insane for somebody at his age. Yeah. Killing the ball. Again, I think if Tampa Bay was doing what we expected Tampa Bay to do in the preseason, right? Doing Tampa Bay things, whatever. I wouldn't be so leaning this way, but I expect them to get called up in the next 2 weeks. If they continue to do what they're doing, somebody needs to get pulled down, and they need to pull somebody up, because they're not going to go buy somebody.
They gotta find a spark. This team is just, there's a lot of injuries right now that's not helping, but even the players that should be hitting, that we've talked about many times, they're just not hitting right now. I'm looking right at you, Mr. Rosarena. Let's pick it up, man. So I'll stop in for AJ and be like, you're screwing up my teams. AJ, we got you. So, all right, next up is Mr. James Wood. And this guy can mash for sure. Yep. Can also steal some bases. He's got 8 on the year so far, 339 in the AAA right now. What's the thoughts here? Look, let's be real. The Nationals are not very good. So shocking. When do they bring this guy up and give him a chance? They have sold everybody for some of these top prospects, and they've got one. So what do we think they're going to do? Dap, why don't you lead us off, man?
I think if they weren't, if we don't play games with eligibility, right, then there would have been no reason for him not to start off the season on the active roster. Yeah. That's just, there's just no reason for that. He's doing what he's already doing. And like you said, the team's terrible. They're supposed to be terrible. You need somebody to put butts in seats, like the Strasburg of old, right? And James Wood is that type of bat. Again, if you have even a non-minor league spot, I'm willing to, depending on obviously your problem, but I expect James Wood to be called up in the next 2 weeks. I think Caminero and James Wood should be the next 2 call-ups. Again, that's just gut feel. The Nationals have nothing to lose. There's nobody that's like, oh no, he's blocked. James Wood should absolutely be called up right now. I think the only thing holding him back is he hasn't had an extra base hit this week. I don't know. It just I don't know what to nitpick him on. I think he didn't pet a puppy when he saw him the other day. There's just nothing.
His BABIP's 425. There's no way that'll continue. It's got to come down, right? That's what it is.
But
totally.
Just see major league pitching at this point. And what better way to do that than just let him.
So pass or stash on him. Sorry,
I'm sorry. Yes, stash. My apologies. I stash all day long. I'm stashing Caminero. I'm stashing Woods, and I'm doing it without a minor league spot. Of course, if I'm in the top 3 in my league, then no, I'm not touching these guys. If I'm middle of the league below, then yes, I need somebody. Right.
I agree with you there, Joe.
See, I thought Wood, I agree with you. I think he should have made the opening day roster. The people that I listen to talk about prospects a lot all seem to think he's not going to be up for a while, and I don't understand it. I've heard the Cleggs of the world, the Crosses of the world. I can't remember specifically who and when, but I've heard a lot of people say they don't think that Wood is going to be up that soon. And I think that he absolutely should be. Like, what the hell else does this guy have to prove in the minor league level? This season, he's walking nearly as much as he's striking out. That's been a massive thing from him. Like last year, he struck out 33% of the time. This year's at 20. He's walking 16% of the time.
Right.
Like, we joke about the BABIP, but honestly, like his BABIPs for his career in the minors have always been really, really strong. They actually could be like a 360, 370 type of BABIP guy.
Jesus.
It wouldn't shock me. I don't know what they're waiting for. I think that he is probably worth it, but I have no idea when he's actually going to get called up. These teams, I've kind of given up on these guessing games at this point. And I know we kind of have to do that. We have to talk about it. We have to do it for our own teams, but I have no idea. Like at the beginning of the year, if someone had said Paul Skenes is coming up on the whatever it is, the 11th, like it's just a total guessing game. Wood could be up tomorrow. He might not be up until after the All-Star break. Yeah. I think it's probably worth it. But if there's somebody really nice on your waiver wire right now who is actively producing and you're passing them up for these guys, I don't know that I'd recommend that. That's the other side of this is what's the opportunity you're missing out on to stash one of these guys?
Well, let me ask you a question there, Joe. So I didn't listen to CNC Music Factory. I'm sorry, Chris and Clegg there and Cross. But with that being said, right, like why were they saying that they didn't think he was being called up? Was it an organizational thing? It obviously isn't performance. I mean, was there a reason for that, or is that just a gut feel type of situation?
From what I remember, there was something they wanted him to, I don't know, maybe it's just nonsense BS, but there was something that they wanted him to show at the minor league level before they called him up. I think it's similar to like the Jackson Holliday thing at the beginning of the year. And, I know we're going to get there, but like to Baltimore's credit, we all thought Holliday should have been up and, they're stupid for not bringing him up. And then he comes up and he wasn't ready. So I don't remember exactly who said it. It might not have even been Eric and Chris. It could have been somebody else completely. But I just remember hearing a couple prospect people just kind of urge caution on that. Could have been Anderson. I'm not sure who, but there's like, I've heard it from a few people. I've heard from a few people now that, he should be up, but he might not be up as soon as we all want him to. And he should, and as soon as he should be.
So
Chad in the comments here is what?
Sorry, I was just going to say, are you telling me that people that are getting paid for a living as executives in baseball organizations know more than us? That's ridiculous. I don't believe that for a second.
Should listen to us all the time so we can win our fantasy leagues.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Chaz makes some good points here. He's saying the Nats outfield is, some of the best production in the league right now. So it's hard to slot Wood right in there. Otherwise he could get Kershaw, which has been ridiculous, to be honest with you. Like, I literally have no idea why they brought this guy up to sit him every single game, except for like 4. So makes no sense to me. But speaking of the Orioles, because we've got to talk about the Orioles who are back here.
I mean, I just wish somebody, in the show was an Orioles fan.
There's nobody here like that. But speaking of the Orioles, they've got the trio here. We're just going to lump them all in here together. So Jackson Holliday is 1 because he's back down, right? Coby Mayo and Connor Norby. I guess there's kind of 2 questions. Like, what order would you put them in this year as far as production in the majors? And then, like, I guess it just because we're playing the game, would you stash any of these guys? I know the answer. We've already kind of heard the answer. It kind of depends on league size and things like that. But, if you've got some flexibility on your roster, would you take the chance in which one of these guys, Joe?
See, this is one where I actually just straight up wouldn't do it. I worry about Baltimore and the way that they use these guys when they call them up. Like, first of all, they have no real reason to rock the boat. They have the second best record in the majors, best record in the American League, top of the hardest division in baseball. When they've called these guys up, we saw it last year with Westberg and Kauser. We saw it not so much with Holliday, but with Kierstad, that they either A, don't produce, or they B, don't get the opportunity to produce. So when there's 3 more mouths to feed at the minor league level, I just don't know who they're going to come up and replace. Like, Urias is probably not long for that starting lineup. Joe, you can probably speak to this a little bit better as an Orioles fan, but I don't think that Urias is somebody that should be getting any playing time, really. I think it's only a matter of time there. So that might open up a few at-bats, but I just don't know if there's really going to be enough room for them to actually get enough playing time to make them fantasy relevant outside of like maybe AL only. I really was expecting that they'd make a trade by now, that they'd package up a couple of these guys and add another front end arm. And to their credit, they added a front end arm, Corbin Burns, without even having to really get rid of that core prospect.
I know, right?
It's incredible. But I think there's another trade coming somewhere, and a couple of these guys are likely to be on the move. You know, the Orioles are in a really solid contention window. If they have like a third ace level pitcher to add to that Corbin and Grayson, group there, I mean, John Means is excellent. The Bradish, I mean, hell, like this could be special. And I think that maybe these guys get an opportunity this year, but it might not be in Baltimore. That's my thought.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. Arraez is the clear choice of getting replaced, but it's just who takes that spot, right? I mean, he's playing third right now. You can move Gunner, I guess, back over there and just figure it out. But he's playing phenomenal at shortstop right now. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum on the show. Is just what do the Orioles do with all these guys? Because in reality, like I think at some point you really hurt all of these players' development, keeping them down. And so, yeah, I think we're going to see trades. I totally agree with you. I have no idea who it's going to be. It's going to take an injury. It's going to take, just somebody absolutely just falling off a cliff to, for somebody to come in and get substantial playing time. So yeah, I don't know with any of these guys. I'm kind of off, and I wasn't really on the Jackson Holliday train to begin with. I was sort of like shocked when I heard he might be caught. Like he didn't really get a lot of work in the minors, and I know he's a great hitter, but like he never really had like eye-popping stats in the minors. Granted, he did to start this year, so fine, but it felt a little quick, and I think we saw it, right? I mean, he looked overmatched and lost at the plate. Look, Mayo's a little older. He's 22.
A little older.
So maybe that works. Older than Holliday, who's what?
I know.
18.
I'm mad at you, okay, because your team's so well stocked.
Hey, you guys were almost 500 for a while there. You dropped a little bit.
So
you're getting there.
So Keith Law came out today, and this is skipping out somebody else. But
I saw this.
Well, and because I want Joe to be able to talk about this for a second. So Keith Law comes out today and basically says, everybody's going after Mason Miller, the Oakland A's closer, right? Because the guy's throwing. I think he just threw
190 miles an hour.
Yeah, 190. I think he beat a car one time today, whatever. But everybody's trying to acquire him, not only because he's young and he's amazing, but because they have him under team control till 2029. He's only $740,000 this year. What the A's are asking for, this is just, again, rumor and speculation, but it comes from Keith Law, so I believe it. From the Orioles, he asked for Mayo, and for their other prospect, Enrique Bradfield, because you guys also have the number 64 out of the top 100 prospects there for Keith Law. So, Mr. Joe, not Bond, the other guy, would you trade Mayo and Bradfield for another closer, Mason Miller?
I would do it before they'd have the chance to get the whole offer out of their mouth at that point. And there's a few reasons. Yeah, I love Mason Miller. I think that he still could potentially work his way back as a starter. I don't think they're giving up on him as a starting pitcher. I think that they're just being very, very cautious with him. But I still think like the talent level is arguably on a per inning basis. I want to watch what I say here, get myself in trouble, but he could be at this point the best pitcher in baseball right now. And I don't think that's crazy to say.
Market, I love it. I love it. That's the stones right there. I love it.
Is he better than DeGrom when he's healthy? No, but DeGrom's not healthy. Strider, no, same deal. But as of guys who are throwing bullets as of today, I think he might be the best. The side of that for the Orioles that I think that who knows how they're going to consider this, but they have so many prospects. They're not all going to pan out. It just doesn't work out that way. You have 9 or 10 top prospects over the course of a couple of years. You're not going to hit 100% of them. So trading 1 or 2 of them, and I'm not the most savvy prospect guy, but the guy in their eyes that probably has the smallest chance of fully panning out, whether in their mind it's Norby or Mayo or Kierstead or whoever, trading him for a guy like Mason Miller, who has Cy Young upside. Like that's the ceiling for him. It's a Cy Young award. And it could be an Eric Gagne type of Cy Young out of the bullpen. Like this guy is that good. He really is. I think that Baltimore may hug their prospects though, because of the way that, the top two prospects from the past couple of years have come up, Rutschman and Henderson, and they've completely smashed. So in their brain, they might think they're all going to smash, and they may not be inclined to do a trade like this, but I think they'd be crazy to not pull the trigger on something like that. I know Miller's got an elevated injury risk, but
Right.
I think you take that chance.
All right.
Any
All right.
pitcher's got an elevated injury risk, but yeah.
All right. Oh wait, Bond, Homer, would you do it?
100%.
All right, I love it.
I gotta plug in my computer before it dies. Hang on a second.
No, but Joe, I love
Literally,
I love the assurance.
No, 100% I would do this. Sorry. Yeah, I would do this. Maybe that's not the duo that does it, but I would 100% do it. And mainly just because, well, Craig Kimbrel sucks, and I wasn't happy with the signing in the first place. And yeah, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, not too great. Actually, you know what? Screw it. Let's just talk about it now. We're just gonna move that one up on the charts. All
right,
Craig Kimbrel sucks, and let's see here. Mr. Bob Barker agrees with me. So if you can't read the screen, it says pro Craig Kimbrel isn't blowing games for the Phillies anymore. Con, now he's blowing games for the Orioles. So this would have been perfect if AJ was here, because AJ is a Phillies and a O's fan. So yeah, not good. I don't know what to do.
I mean, who up in here can know and hope for the best.
I mean, who would have saw this happening in the offseason? Everybody. I mean, it's the one thing I was like, the Orioles have made so many savvy, smart choices. This was like a head scratcher for me. I think they were like, oh, we can pick up anybody and put him in the bullpen. I'm like, no, not Kimbrel. Like
this. So Chad doesn't make a good point. I don't think the O's will do it because before they see what Felix looks like in rehab. That is a good point, because they do have a good closer potentially coming back for the long term, right? And you don't go trade really good prospects for a closer who then may not be your closer going for it. Who knows, right? But if he could be a rotation guy again, then maybe that does end up panning out. But yeah, I didn't really think of that. That's a good point, Chad. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Stop being sane, Chad.
I know there's a lot of there was some chatter on this show, especially, right, where it was, well, Kimbrel should be better because he's just going to be the closer, and he just doesn't like to be a setup guy. Well, now he sucks at both. So, like, now what do we do? Like, now he's getting killed. He's got a lot of saves, but there's also been a lot of chances for a team who's winning a lot of games. So that's going to happen. But, he's been taken out of save chances in the middle of them multiple times in the last week and a half. And he blew a save 2 nights ago. It's not good. Like, I personally don't know what to do with Craig Kimbrel at this point, because he's there. You're not going to not use him, but I think he's got to get pulled from that main closer job and work on some stuff until they're comfortable putting him back in there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if they'll pull the trigger on that kind of thing, though, because
I really hope they do.
The whole, and I don't even know if Kimbrel is one of these guys necessarily, but I'm the closer, or I'm not really going to be, because he's always been a closer, right? There's been very few times in his career. I think there was a small period of time where he was backing up. Was it Liam Hendricks with the White Sox for a while or something? But he's
pulled that out. I love it.
He's pretty much there was that Cubs White Sox midseason trade where he ended up, I think, as the setup man for a few months, but he's pretty much always the closer. So if there's any doubt in my mind,
he was a setup guy last year in Philly for a little while. Like, he kind of they mixed and matched a little bit, and he was terrible when he was not the main closer, I feel like.
The thing with him is that we're at a point now where is he 37? Let me see. He's 30. He's going to be 36 in next month. Yeah. He's still got a great strikeout rate at 35.6%, but the swinging strike rate is way down. It's at 10.8% this year. The walks are crazy high. Yeah, the ERA estimators are still actually pretty good. If you look at his FIP, his xFIP, his SIERA, he has a 319 SIERA. He has where did the xFIP go? 363 xFIP. It's not terrible. He started off so strong that maybe that's just the early strong outing still factoring into that, but I think it's prudent to pick up Yennier Cano where you can right now, because if they do take that role away from him, Joe, you're again going to be better suited to talk Orioles, but I think it would be Cano at this point, right?
I think so. Chad's right though. Cano hasn't been that great either. But Cano's the guy. Cano's the one you're going to throw in there. But I mean, like they've got a great bullpen still. Like they can mix and match guys and figure it out. But they would have to. I would say they would have to go trade for somebody that I feel like they would feel comfortable just in that lockdown. Always, like just pull the trigger, throw them in, and feel great about it, like they did with Bautista. Because I don't think that guy's on their roster right now, unfortunately.
Well, he soon will be for the price of Norby. And
you're just getting a little too excited there, Dap.
I honestly just want I just want Norby to be free. I just want to see what that bat can do in an environment where he can just mash and have a long leash. But and Clint, he can do that.
Is that eventually Las Vegas?
Shut up. I hate you. Wait, I mean, well, the good news is going to be in Stockton. I mean, right? Because the A's, being the A's, can't even get a stadium deal closed. But yeah, I don't even know anymore. I love being an Oakland fan. It's so fun.
Chad's open fire season on you, man.
Yeah. Shut up, Chad.
All right, let's move over to some other news here.
Stop bringing reality into this, okay?
So we had the trade this week, which I think was pretty shocking. I don't think anybody expected this one to come. Not so shocking once you realize, oh, it's the Marlins, duh. But they traded Arraez to the Padres. They ended up getting Dylan Head at outfield. He's the number 107 prospect on our rankings of our Fantasy Six Pack. First baseman Nathan Martorella, 452 ranked, and outfielder Jacob Mars, 349, and then pitcher Woo Suk Go. I guess just quick thoughts on the trade overall, and then kind of like go into what you think this does for Arraez's fantasy value and any impact, positive or negative, on other Padres as well.
Positive for Arraez, I'd say.
Right.
Going from that absolute dumpster fire of a lineup to a fairly competent one, especially at the top there, where you're surrounded by pretty talented guys there. So I think the run total should go up. RBI is probably going to run about the same. Homers, steals about the same, but I think it's just a few more runs that he's going to be able to get. He has not really been great so far this year, but that could just be the mentality in Florida out there. It's been pretty rough. Like their general manager said last week, I don't know if you guys saw this, but he threw in the towel. Like he fully said, like, yep, we're not going to be making the playoffs this year in the first week of May. So that could just be a vibes thing as well. He hasn't hit a home run, hasn't stolen a base. Nothing's looked great, but definitely a positive getting out of there. Like they have 7 wins, 8 wins. Like anything's positive getting out of Miami or Oakland or Colorado, any of those teams, you're set free. So I'm willing to think that there's a decent chance he can turn it around a little bit. I know that he's not somebody that's really available in a lot of leagues, but he's like 91% on Yahoo, where he used to be 97, 98. So maybe there's some leagues where you can pick him up there. It might be worth it for a bench piece if you need extra batting average in a given week, but I don't think it massively changes his value. I think it mostly just probably adds some runs to the total.
I think the thing is that if you're in a league where you need average help or something like that, you might be able to get him still at a discount. If the Arraez is not owner is not paying attention, right? Like look how happy he looks in this debut. Yeah, 4 for 4, but also he's smiling. He's smiling. I think that's the thing. I think you could probably still get him at a discount.
There you go. Good pause.
You can probably get him at for a trade as well. But yeah, if you're looking at the other way, if you're a Marlins fan, you got nothing. I mean, yeah, I am a fan of the first baseman prospect, and there's some other kind of interesting. The thing is that you're like, it's interesting, but why trade now? I mean, I get you're throwing in a towel, but there has to be better offers out there. Even if you held on for a little bit more, It just seems like one of those like rage quit type situations, like that you do in fantasy baseball, like where you have that owner that's checked out or whatever, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm selling my team. I don't care." That's kind of what it feels like. Real life, there's just no reason for this other than just cut salary. But why in May? Like it just doesn't make any sense.
They butchered the Pablo Lopez trade so dramatically. Like, holy crap. That one is an all-timer. It really is an all-timer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, look, Martorella, I love him, right? I have him in a lot of dynasty leagues. He, not really great fielder, but other than that, I mean, I love like all the underlying stats there. The rest of the stuff, I'm like, great. But then you're like, for Arraez, like if that would have happened in fantasy, I would have been so hit decline so quick, I wouldn't even read the rest of it. Like it's just like, no. The whole thing just reeks.
To be fair though, in fantasy, and I said this before the season, and I'm going to say it now. Arraez is a run and batting average guy.
Right.
It's really all you're getting from him. Like he's going to have more home runs than zero, but like he's never been a power hitter. He doesn't steal a ton of base. He doesn't really steal. So like he's a good piece, but he has to fit a roster mold where that's kind of all you need. He's almost like the run stolen base guy, right? Where, like the speedster guys, but where they help in two categories, and that's kind of it. And maybe batting average if you're lucky with those guys, but he's a hard player to roster for me in fantasy because he just doesn't help in enough categories, in my opinion. But I mean, he is so elite in the batting average category that now that he's on a good offensive team, hitting atop that lineup, it looks like more often than not, he should score a ton of runs. I mean, I even think, even with the slowish start that he had in runs scored for the Marlins this season, I think he could get near 100 runs if Machado and Tatis and all those guys really start picking it up. And if Profar stays locked in like he's doing right now, like, oh my gosh, because I was like, well, what do they do with Profar? I mean, like, they can't pick up Arraez and not put him top of the order, right? And I was like, but that dude's killing it right now. Profar's is just crushing, and so they put him at 5th, and it's like, I mean, that's not too bad either. But it's just a different, you're trading runs for RBI at that point. But it's I think we're going to see a lot more runs scored from him, and as you can tell from this freeze frame here, he's looking mighty happy now that he is in San Diego.
Tatis called up Tony Gwynn the other day.
Yeah.
That'll make you happy.
Not a bad comp, honestly. Except just a lot less power, I would say. Next up here, dude, I'm tilted on this one, man, because I don't know how many years in a row I was like, oh man, Chris Sale's at a discount, I'm gonna get him, and he sucked. Like just blew out his arm again, or like came back and was no good. This year I said, I'm out. I'm not doing it. I'm not falling for it again. Just cruising right now. I mean, is this the Chris Sale we should be expecting the rest of the year, or is this a perfect sell high window for him?
I think it is, because at the end of the day, we've still only seen 42 innings out of him, and that's always the main concern with Chris Sale. It was the same thing with Mike Trout, and the same thing that you have with like Clayton Kershaw. It's not the per inning production. That's never been a question. And I felt guilty myself the first week of the season. It's like, oh, Mike Trout hit 3 home runs. Well, of course he did. He's Mike Trout. When he's out there, he's gonna be good. When Chris Sale's out there, he's gonna be good. But this is a whole other level. Like, I was trying to find a good year to comp his numbers to so far. Granted, it's been 7 starts, but he's statistically looking very, very similar to 2014. And that was the year where he went with a 2.17 ERA. He went 12-4, over 174 innings. Like, just if you look at the rate stats, the strikeout minus walk rate, like this looks like a 10-year younger version of Chris Sale. He looks like he's 25 again. He's on a great team. There's a lot of reason for optimism, but at the same time, I just don't really trust him to stay healthy. And at this point, you're actually probably going to be able to get back a serious piece for him, where after a couple of healthy starts, maybe you can trade him for face value. But at this point, you might be able to get yourself a borderline top 10 starting pitcher. There might be some people right now. I'll pose this to you guys off the top of my head: Chris Sale or Logan Webb rest of season.
Logan Webb all day, just
I
because.
mean, yeah, Logan Webb, just
because
I
I believe he could actually make it all season.
Yeah,
And I think in a lot of cases right now, you see Webb not really performing up to scratch. You see Sale probably overperforming a bit. You could probably make that trade in a lot of leagues. So I think that there is a good.
that's a good one.
And honestly, like there's a few other ones like George Kirby. Some people might trade Kirby away. They might even trade Pablo, who struggled up until today. Like there's probably a lot of different arms, even maybe top 10 arms you can get back for Sale. The track record is there of success, of course. He is a borderline Hall of Fame pitcher. Maybe he probably won't get there, but like statistically speaking, the talent is Hall of Fame level. I think it's just maybe longevity will cost him. But I think that Sale right now is worth quite a pretty penny. And if you can capitalize for a top 50 overall player, I would be doing it.
This is interesting. Corbin, so Pat over here commenting, Corbin Carroll for Sale gets accepted in more leagues than you think.
Absolutely, because right now Carroll's
Carroll is
his own risk. There's his own risk.
Yeah.
The shoulder really worries me with Carroll. This year has looked really atrocious. I still think I would take Corbin Carroll over Chris Sale, though.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Carroll will get over this. I know the shoulder thing is a concern, but I've said it on the last show when we mentioned Corbin Carroll. I was listening to the Fantasy Alarm Show on Sirius XM, and they said they had just spoken with the GM of the Diamondbacks, and he could be blowing smoke, but he said it's not the shoulder. He's just not seeing the pitches as well right now, and the pitchers have figured out that like up and in pitch on him, and that's really what they're hammering. And so he's just got to figure out how to be able to like foul those off and stay alive until they miss on that pitch, and then he can take advantage of it. So I totally agree.
So Chris Sale or Mason Miller?
Oh man, that's tricky. I think I go Chris Sale.
Yeah.
Whoa! I thought you were gonna wait till I got the Sale part out of my mouth. I think I'm gonna just say Mason Miller. Okay.
I love Mason Miller, but realistically speaking, he's still the closer for the Athletics, right? He can be as great as he's going to be, but you're probably talking low 20 save number. Maybe he gets like 25. If he gets 30 saves, I'll be shocked.
Okay.
I mean, look, there's been some closers on some bad teams that have like almost led the league in saves because every single one of their wins is always like within one or two.
No, I remember Daniel Bard a couple years ago,
right?
For the 68 win Rockies had, I think 34, 35 saves.
Right?
It does happen.
Well, it can happen, but
it's just harder to get there. It's harder to get there. Plus you add the injury concerns with Miller. There's injury concerns with both of them.
Right.
I'll take the starting pitcher on the better team. I think that's where I will default.
I agree.
Okay,
with that.
It's June 15th. Mason Miller still with the A's.
And would I still do this trade? Is that the
No, I'm asking just that question. Is Mason Miller still with the
I don't think that they're going to be in a big rush to move him. There's really no reason to be unless they're just like if the Orioles offer Jackson Holliday or something, then sure. But I don't think that they're going to be getting that kind of offer. I don't really see them moving off of him. I think the long-term plan is to still get him back in the rotation. I don't think that they're just giving up on that kind of pedigree at is he 22, 23 years old? I don't think they're going to resign him to the pen yet. I think they're going to do what they can. And maybe next year we see him as a starting pitcher. I'd be very, very surprised if he's not in Oakland a month from now, unless they just get a crazy offer, which you never know. Maybe it happens, but I doubt it. I think that people recognize the risk there, and I don't think it's going to happen. I think he'll be in Oakland through the end of the year.
Sir, he's 25 years old. He's ancient.
Miller's 25?
Yeah, birth date 1998, sir.
Wow. Yeah. I thought he was 23.
I'm actually surprised too, but all right. So I want to finish up for you, Joe, because I do know you've got a hard out tonight, so I want to make sure we get through the rest of this. Rip through some injury news real quick, just to get some quick reactions to some of these. Taj Bradley coming back from IL had a really rocky up and down rehab, but ended very well, so promising there. But Ryan Pepio to the IL in his place. Quick thoughts on Bradley. Are you just plugging him right in, or you kind of want to wait and see what he's doing?
Yeah, he's starting against the Yankees. It's a tricky matchup. I generally try to give guys one start on the bench when they come off the IL, depending on the matchup. If it's the White Sox or something, okay, you'll probably get in my lineup. I'll probably give him a start, maybe two, just to try and get it figured out. But Taj Bradley's 34% rostered on Yahoo right now.
Wow.
He should be added pretty much everywhere. The talent is through the roof. I know that last year it didn't really pan out the way we had hoped. Started off really, really well, and then he was up and down, and up and down performance-wise, and from the minors he was sent down. So I don't think that he's somebody that should be out there in this many leagues still. The talent is definitely there, especially with Pepio going on the IL. There's going to be opportunities. So I think you should go out there and add him. Even if you're not going to start him in that first game, I think you should be on all rosters.
I agree. I went out and stashed him in a couple of my leagues that he was sitting out there. I've been sitting on him for a couple of weeks in my IL spot. I am going to activate him, but I am probably going to wait and see with the Yankees. The Yankees, can have had a few games where you're like, what happened? Like their offense, like unless those, unless Soto and Judge get going for them on offense, like it doesn't feel like anybody else really is. Right. So, but they seem to be picking it up lately. So I'm going to wait and see on that one. Cause you're right. As big of a fan as I am with Taj Bradley, he doesn't have that. I don't trust him that much yet. Dap, over to you here with the next one. Max Scherzer had a setback in his rehab, a thumb and a forearm issue. So we all know which one we're actually worried about.
Yeah.
Is he still worth a stash? Because I know a lot of people who drafted him and were just like, I'm just going to hold on to him until he comes back.
Yeah, it depends. With all the IL issues happening right now, I'm like, it depends. Like in a 3 IL league, right? Like he's not worth. I'm not stashing him right now. In a 5 IL league, absolutely and above. I think it's just there's so many people getting hurt, and there's so many pitfalls here with Scherzer. I feel like 70% he's going to come back this season, but when I start hearing forearm with Scherzer, together, it scares the heck out of me.
Nerve-wracking for sure. That's a scary thought. I don't know, Joe, do you got any thoughts? What's your quick take on that?
Yeah, if you have a free IL space, which not many people do, then sure, hold on to him. But from what I'm seeing, they're expecting it's going to be probably like a month till he comes back. That being said, 4 months of Max Scherzer could be incredible in this landscape, but
sure,
he had shown signs of decline. Now, decline for Max Scherzer was a 3.77 ERA and a 112 WHIP, and still like a great strikeout rate. But he's trending in the wrong direction at this point of his career. So I think you've got to be in a pretty good spot to be holding him right now. You can't be burning an active roster spot for him for sure.
No, absolutely.
That makes sense. So move over here to catchers. Wilson Contreras injured, hit with a bat, left arm fracture, forearm fracture. I mean, is he worth holding in redraft leagues, especially if you got an IL spot for him? But the catcher landscape is bad this year. And there's really not anybody worth a damn that's out there. I mean, I guess maybe Ohapi got dropped in a lot of leagues, but he hasn't really been doing much. Started off okay with the batting average, but nothing else was really picked up. I mean, we all wanted Moreno to be something this year. That hasn't really worked out. I mean, there's just nothing out there. Dab, I know this is kind of a joke, but do you just take the 0 from your catcher position so you don't get almost a negative from it?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I always tell people, and it's always been the thing with catchers. I always just try to find a catcher at this point. If I can't find like a Shea Langerly or something.
I was just going to say, what do you think of him? Because he's batting average is awful, but he's smashing.
Right. His prospect pedigree is phenomenal. And, he's somebody that I've been waiting for him to kind of take off. But if you can't get somebody like that, right, and if it doesn't mess with your roster, then find somebody who is just not playing, right? I can't even think of it right now. Tyler Soderstrom, right, who's good at playing part-time, or just somebody like that who's going to put up 0, but it's not going to kill you in your average, because at that point, really, that in my mind, a catcher's a negative, especially a 2-catcher league. At that point, I just kind of punt the second catcher.
This is a good one. So Pat's saying he dropped Wilson for Jansen. I like that. Yeah, not great county stats, but not going to kill you in average. It's got a little pop in the bat. I like it. Langeliers is tough because you're going to get the home runs, but man, he's going to hurt you elsewhere, But yeah, I mean, it could be where if you don't want to just lose all the batting average, points, you just go for a part-timer that just can keep you afloat in batting average, because you don't get a ton of counting stats from your catcher anyway, unless you got one of the elite guys. And so I don't mind that strategy. Joe, is that something you agree with? Sounds like.
Depends on the format. I'm going to be taking a look on my when Fab runs this Sunday. It's going to be tough because I have Wilson Contreras in 6 leagues. I think, I think a couple of DCs, I was looking to set my weekend lineups as a side thing here, and there's one DC where I have Connor Wong, who's been doing well, and then Wilson Contreras and Henry Davis. Those are my 3 catchers. So we're taking a 0 there somewhere. We are taking a 0 there somewhere. I have him in I have him in my home league, which is a 10-team 1-catcher league. And I mean, I haven't actually dropped him yet because I do more content than actually playing fantasy baseball at this point. It's a bit of a problem, but he's going to get dropped. And just looking through the waiver wire, there's Camposano, like just talking about the guys who are 50% or lower on Yahoo, Camposano, Darno, MJ Melendez has catcher eligibility on Yahoo. He's been not great, but I mean, I'd take him over a 0 at this point. Elias Diaz, Mitch Garver, Keibert Ruiz, Connor Wong himself has been like excellent. I know he's not.
He's 31% rostered. Like what?
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to keep this up. He doesn't play every single day, but I'll happily take him over the 0 from Wilson, Jansen as well. Like there are options in 1-catcher leagues. In 15-team 2-catcher leagues, taking a 0 might be a viable option because I don't know what the hell you're getting. Rene Pinto, maybe. I don't know who you're getting.
100% agree with you there. That's brutal if you lose that. Also, why I don't like 2-catcher leagues, because that's just not fun to me. So last guy here,
saves only and 2-catcher leagues are the bane of my existence. Sorry, go ahead.
I would 1,000% rather play in a saves only league than a 2-catcher league.
Okay,
but so last injury here, Wyatt Langford put on the IL. We had a running joke on this show where we had the Wyatt Langford and the Victor Scott Fantasy 6-pack Hall of Fame trackers, just because they were so hyped coming out of spring training. We were tracking it. So we've put those on hold for obvious reasons. But Wyatt Langford going on the IL, I don't know if he's worth holding on to right now. He wasn't really performing. I think obviously get IL spots, just throw him on there, see what happens. I wonder if they're going to use this as a reason to keep him down for a little bit. Anybody got any thoughts on that?
It would make sense. I mean, he just straight up hasn't been able to handle it at the big league. Like, I know he's got the 1 home run. It was an inside the park home run. He has not hit a ball out of a major league park at this point. He's still on 1 base. Like, for the first few weeks, he was hitting 260. It was like, okay, he's going to figure it out. But 3 for his last 28, 15 for his last 73. I mean, it's just not good. He shouldn't be on the big league roster, taking away spot from really anybody at this point. It's the year of the failed rookie, unfortunately, but I think that the future's still fine for him. But at this point, maybe in a 15, you hold on for now, maybe in like an NFBC 15-team league. Because again, like there's not a hell of a lot out there, but I think most people listening to podcasts in general are playing 12-teamers, 10-teamers.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to hold Wyatt Langford outside of you have an IL spot and you're not using it. And like we said earlier, almost 100% certainty you are using that IL spot. So I think in most cases you can drop him. And it's not really going to hurt you so much this year.
I'm only holding him in the league I drafted him in because with the keeper league, and I got him in the 7th or 8th round, and I was like, well, all right, I'll just keep him for the 7th rounder next year.
Yeah.
And so that's literally the reason why I'm keeping him. Otherwise, he probably would have been off my roster weeks ago.
Yeah, and redraft is no, Wyatt Langford's off my roster. And so in fantasy, that being the case. In real life, they should trade him for Mason Miller. I'm just saying.
Spicy. That's a spicy one. I
feel like you don't actually like Mason Miller, and you just.
I like Wyatt Langford a lot more than Mason Miller. Let's put it that way. I mean, I know he's Cy Young. I know I just learned that he's going to win the Cy Young next year, but
it's the year of the fake rookie shoulda. And yeah, that's true. That's true.
Wow.
I like that. That's a good one, Pat. That's a good one. All right. Finish off here with our question of the day. So it's a little 2-parter here. So the question is, the Astros, including today, have started out an abysmal 13-24. the second worst record in the AL. The only team they are better than are the White Sox. Not good. First part question, kind of just more baseball. Like, is this the beginning of the end for this dominant Astros run, Joe?
I'd say not yet, but we've probably seen the peak. I mean, what was it? 5 World Series appearances, 4 or 5 World Series appearances in 7 or 8 years. I don't think that's I don't think that's something that they're going to be matching going forward. So the best is probably behind them, but I don't think this lineup is really going anywhere. And I think a lot of the struggles are to be blamed on the pitching. If you look at where they rank in terms of a lot of offensive numbers, so they are 8th in all of baseball in WRC plus. That's objectively very good number. They're 7th in WOBA. They strike out less than literally any team in baseball by a decent margin. 16.9% K rate. The next number is 18.3 for Kansas. So they're still doing things right on offense. And I think that that's a situation where a lot of people are just looking at the record, similarly to what they did last year with the Cardinals, where the Cardinals really struggled, but it was the pitching. It wasn't the offense. The offense was actually still very good, and everybody was like, oh, Cardinals suck. And I had a comment yesterday on one of my posts that was, the Astros offense is a mess. It's like, no, people will just assume that because of the record. But in reality, you can't stream pitchers against the Astros right now. It's not going to go well for you. There's still a lot of thump in that lineup. And just because they're struggling does not mean that I really want to go anywhere near them at this point. The pitching is a problem, and I don't think the pitching is going to be solved this year within the organization. They probably need to make a trade or two. Ronel Blanco is on an incredible run, but I think it's probably going to be coming to an end fairly soon. Hunter Brown has been a disaster. So I think that they are in need of an arm to come in and probably stabilize things. Do I think they're the worst team in the American League? No, I don't think so.
No,
I think
I don't
a bad
think so
stretch for them, but if they're in the wild card at the end of the year with 88, 89 wins, I don't think any of us are going to be shocked, right? Like, I think that we would be pretty all right with that.
As shocking as it is, man, like, they've got 8 blown saves. Josh Hader has been like just brutal.
8.
I don't know if they're all on him. Obviously, a blown save can happen in the 7th inning, technically, I guess, right? But he's got technically 1 blown save, but he's got a 6.14 ERA. Like, he has not been the Josh Hader we all know and love. Like, he's been bad. So, but I mean, that kind of speaks to the fact that they've got 8 blown saves. Is the fact that, like, the back end of their bullpen is blowing it for them, right? But that proves that their offense is still sort of hanging around, right? You know, and yeah, Chad, I thought you said you were leaving, man. No,
Chad.
Jose Abreu was a disaster. Like, it's weird. I was looking at the lineup for this team, and it's kind of up and down. Like, Kyle Tucker's been amazing. Altuve's gotten off to a hot start.
Bregman.
Alvarez is sort of like he's good, but he's not the Alvarez that we're like used to seeing.
Right. Yep.
So, like, I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't all feel like it's clicking yet offensively for them either. Like, you're just waiting for it to, like, the switch to flip for them, right? But I agree with you, Joe. Like, and that was the second part of the question was, you know, are we not worried anymore throwing out kind of like our SP 3s and 4s over against these guys? And I still sort of hesitate to put them against them, because you just know any given day Alvarez can hit 2 bombs and hit, you know, for like 6 RBI and you're toast. It's easy. It can happen, right? And Kyle Tucker's a beast, so we know that. So I still worry about that, but I don't worry as much as I used to, at least. Not right now. They are not offensively where we're used to seeing them.
I want to add one thing about Josh Hader as well. I think that he's actually a buy low, like a pretty solid buy low at this point. I did worry a little bit coming into the season about the talent behind him. Presley and Abreu, really strong guys, strong stuff. Could potentially, you know, if Hader struggles, could take over the role. But the stats below the hood for Josh Hader are actually really, really solid. The 6.14 ERA is abysmal. It's been killing you, but he has a 2.18 xFIP. He has like that. That's an incredibly low number for anybody. His Sierra is, as Fangraphs, is not cooperating, as it gives me a glitch.
It's 3.3. I've got it up right now, actually.
The Sierra is, where is it? 233. The
Yeah,
strikeouts,
233.
strikeouts are higher than last year. He's walking fewer batters than he did last year. His BABIP allowed is 400, and he's only stranding 54% of base runners. Swinging strike is exactly the same as last year. I think that he's somebody that's going to be just fine. He's only 30 years old. We're not like a 36, 37. It's not like it's Kenley Jansen, Kimbrel territory here. There's still a lot of years left for him. I think it's a bit of bad luck, and you're still going to be getting a top 3 closer for a great team going forward. If you're acquiring him now, none of what he's done so far is going to hurt you. So I would really take a look at seeing if the manager's willing to heavily discount him. And I think there's a chance that they are based on what they've seen. A lot of people are very frustrated.
He's well, it's because of the price you paid for him. Like you were paying top dollar closer, money for him. And, he's a lot of home runs this year as compared to years past, as far as like number, as far as like the rate of home runs goes. Right. And so he's had some years where he's kind of up there, but like last year he was amazing with that number. And 2 years ago was pretty bad, but we know like he was not himself 2 years ago, unfortunately. So usually he's a little bit lower than that. It's weird. Like I'm seeing he's actually allowing a lot more ground balls than fly balls. I wonder if there's something to that, right? And so like pitchers are just getting through. Like it's like a staggering number more ground balls than home runs, than fly balls for him. And so that's the one thing I'm looking at with all his underlying stats that stands out to me.
Yeah, it's like flipped of what they usually are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very weird. And so, you don't want to have a whole lot of fly balls either, because those are the home runs. But if he can keep fly balls in the park, then those are great. Those are usually outs. So ground balls can get through the infield a lot easier, and those just pile up pretty quickly. So that's the one concern I have, but I do agree he's a good buy low option. So Dap, any closing thoughts on the Astros and
other than Joe's amazing, and you could decide which Joe I'm talking about? No, I got no closing thoughts. You can never kill off the Astros. They just keep coming back. So yes. They talked to the GM. Actually, I think they asked the reporters asked the GM 2 days ago, are they selling? And he's like, no. So, and I mentioned Bregman real quickly there. I mean, Bregman always seems to have these just these horrible slumps every season. But they moved him down to 6 in the batting order as kind of a, hey, dude, seriously, get your stuff straight. And the offense is doing great, and there's some problems elsewhere. But I think what we're seeing is a lot of opportunities that they're not cashing in on. They're really low there on runners in scoring position and cashing in from that. But I think that you're dealing with a bunch of veterans. I'm not worried whatsoever that they're gonna really start to perform. And if you could buy Jordan, if you could get any of those people, do it. Bregman, I mean, sure, if pennies on the dollar, but other than that, I would absolutely try to get
out there. I would imagine Bregman actually may be available in some leagues, but
for Mason Miller probably.
All right, Joe, before we close things up, just want to give you the chance to let everybody know where they can find you and what you got going on the rest of the season, man.
Well, first, I want to say thank you so much for having me on, guys. It's been an absolute blast getting to talk with you again. JP, we've been talking in the DMs a little bit, and Joe, I know we did a show together, and
we've done something.
I want to say it was Potapalooza. I want to say Frank Stanfield was there, but I couldn't tell you 100%. But in any event, it's been absolutely a blast coming on with you guys. You can check me out at Fantasy Pros. I am recently brought in over there. It's weird it's the first time I've actually done this with Fantasy Pros. But nice. I'm a writer, producer, editor over there. And I'm going to be starting up my new podcast next week. So very exciting stuff on the lookout. Podcasting is really my passion. Haven't been able to do it since I left my old job last week. Had to leave my pod behind. So it's great to talk with you guys here. And I look forward to getting back behind the mic regularly next week. But make sure you're checking out my Twitter, JoeRico99. I will be a pain in the ass over there telling you about all that's going on.
Sounds good, man. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on, man. And we'll have to do it again soon.
Absolutely, guys.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, man. See ya. All right, guys and gals, that is it for us. Dap, any closing comments?
Yeah. I mean, just keep coming back. We are trying to stay on top of all the news, notes, and rumors. We're going to constantly be giving you all kinds of fantasy advice. Hit us up on the Discord. Hit us up on the Twitter DMs.
And if Chad's still here, check out our baseball news tracker on the site where he puts in a lot of the comments. So thank you, Chad, for that. But I want to thank everybody for listening and watching, and we'll be back next week.
Sounds great.
See you later.
See you.